Welcome back, and to shed more light on Joseph Borrell's visit to Egypt and the talks which took place today as President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi was keen to discuss a number of issues with Borrell, as Egypt and the EU are strategic partners and they do have a lot to speak about, a lot of access, a lot of files which are important for both sides. To shed more light on this, we are very much delighted to have with us via phone His Excellency Ambassador Medhat Meleegy, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Thank you very much for being with us, sir, and a very good evening.
Thank you for having me. Good evening to you.
Sir, before going into details, how do you see the keenness of the EU or the European Union to have all the time consultations with Egypt regarding a number of files of mutual concern? And of course, topping the list is the Gaza Strip issue or the Israeli genocide war, which until the moment killed more than 40,000 Palestinians, mostly women, children and minors, and displaced millions of people.
Well, we have to be clear on something. Actually, the European Union's standards have slightly changed from the beginning of the war. However, when it comes to Mr. Joseph Borrell himself, I think that his position has changed clearly from the beginning of the war until today. But as you know, of course, he represents the European Union with all its ramifications, so accordingly he does not just represent himself. And this, I think, is something very important to clear. Having said that, and since he represents the European Union, since he is the high representative of the Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, I think that it was very important to receive him to see firsthand the situation and how it is getting. Unfortunately, there is no condemnation yet for the Israeli action, even after the last massacre of Mawasi that we have seen yesterday. Although we have over 100 persons who have been between injured and killed in this new massacre of Israel, we haven't seen a word of condemnation. Mr. Borrell, with all due respect, do not represent himself with all the ramifications. He represents the European Union, which so far did not crystallize a political will to condemn Israel or even to stop all kind of weapons and ammunition exportation to Israel. So far, the European Union is one of the biggest supplier of arms to Israel and so on.
So regarding the international community, sir, do you think that all what's going on the ground did not even urge them to take any action against Israel? And if yes, then what we can do, what we should do, as there were, for example, a number of meetings by the Arab League yesterday or a few hours ago, even speaking about this and speaking about the important steps which should be taken on the ground. Then what?
Well, actually, I mean, there is several axes to answer your question. First of all, that we have more sympathizing with the Palestinian issue. But this did not reach the point where we are going to impose sanctions on Israel or an embargo of exports arms to Israel. This we haven't seen. At the time where there is still a flow of weapons to Ukraine to defend itself against the Russian aggressor according to the European narrative. But although they recognize that the Palestinians are under occupation, but still they are assisting the aggressor in continuing his aggression. That's the first point. The second point, that there are interests of the Europeans and the West in general, and we are going today in few hours actually to see the American presidential debate, and we are going to see how both candidates, when it comes to the Middle East issue, we are going to see how both of them are competing to show their support to Israel, and who will be able to show his support more than the other. In a few hours, we are going to see it live from the United States.
But as far as I remember, sir, Kamala Harris said that, okay, she is going to continue her support to Israel as a president of the United States if she occupies the White House in the very near future, in just a few months from now. But she said the Gaza war should end.
Yes, well, it ends on Israeli terms, actually. It will not end on the international norms and laws. And this will bring us to the second point of your question. What should we do? I think that we have to exert more pressure on the international law enforcement bodies. And I'm talking here specifically about the International Court of Justice and the International Criminal Court. They have to issue a clear report about what is taking place exactly in Gaza. Although all the indications
they already issued
that
warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his defense minister.
It hasn't been issued yet. The warrant that against the Prime Minister of Israel and his defense minister so far was not issued. Although it only took them 2 weeks to issue one against Mr. Putin, the Russian president. And although it has been months and months, and with a lot of pressure from the Western countries, who are actually the political arm of Israel to continue the genocide that is taking place, whether we are talking about the United States or we are talking about the EU countries. It's quite clear that this genocide cannot continue without this political and, of course, military support to Israel. So this is what we have to do. We have to cling on to international juridical powers and entities to issue the warrant and to finally address the international community. Because this is going to formulate the legal basis that the countries need to enable it from not helping Israel. So I think this is the only thing. But if we are counting on the Americans,
nothing will take place. Amen to that, sir, and I do agree. Ambassador Medhat Meleegy, former Assistant Foreign Minister, thank you very much for your input, sir, and have a very good night. What more than 40,000 people, civilians, who are already martyred, and tens of thousands already wounded, millions displaced. What more should be witnessed to say that we should put an end or stop this madness which is taking place in the Middle East? I really don't know. All right, after the short break, we are going to return back with more, so stay tuned.